hello everyone, and welcome to the college football edition of Proline. It's bowl season. We got some college football bowl betting tips for you, as well as 4 games, including the 2 big marquee games at the end of December. I'm John Cranton, joined by Sean Hess and Jeff Saad. We're going to take a look at these games. We're going to take a look at the winners on the panel as well as on the...
Will they be winning tips? That's the question.
We certainly hope so. We'll get some best bets, too, at the end of the show. First, let's start off with some college football bowl betting tips, because it is a different time of the season. And, Jeff, I know you told me once, you look at things a little differently during bowl time than you do during a regular season at times.
Yeah, the most important thing for me is motivation. Some teams are just... they're settling for bowl games, and other teams are glad to be there. And we saw an example of that last year with Oklahoma-Clemson. Oklahoma didn't really care about much about the game, but Clemson was happy to be there. They were going for the 10th win of the season, and they won, I think it was 40-6. So that's the most important thing. And also you want to look at usually to go against interim coaches. That happens a lot. Coaches get fired or they move on, they get taken another job, and the team kind of feels it's a different feeling. They just don't. They're used to the whole regular season with one coach. Now everything changes, and they come out and usually not play as well. And also you want to look at teams that got hot at the end of the season. I think Oklahoma State was a good example of that last year. They get hot at the end of the season, they're rolling, and they're looking forward to the next year because a lot of times they have a lot of players coming back, and those are the teams you want to bet on for the bowl season. So those are the kind of things that you want to look at, things that don't that happen in the bowl season that don't happen in the regular season, John.
All right, we do have a interim coach coming up on a game that we're going to look at with USC. Sean, you've been doing this business for many decades.
Way too long.
Way
too long. Yeah. Along with the thing that Jen, I haven't tracked this recently, but rookie coaches that are in their first year that are in bowl games are a lot of times, especially if they're a favorite, are worth go against. And then I can't recall the trend where. How about bowl virgins? Now, bowl virgins are teams. And there's a publication that will probably publish this each year. Bowl virgins are teams that haven't been to a bowl game in at least 3 years. So none of the players on that team have been there. And if they're a favorite, you go against them. Now, it was pretty good for a while. I don't know what it is recently, but I would look that up. And we're going to have a trend at the end of the show, which is 42-21, a bowl trend, which is really good. And here's one that's been around for years, and it always seems to work, and it gets in very good streaks, and that's simply to bet against the team that has the Heisman Trophy winner. And this year, of course, it's it'll be Alabama with Derrick Henry who won it, but it's won, I think, 4 of the last 5 times, and it won for sure the last 2 times. Last year was Mariota, and they just got smacked. He was from Arizona. And I can't recall. And Jameis Winston, I think the year before that, Florida State barely got by, I'm trying to think who it was. They're like a 10-point favorite. They win 34-31. Oh, I think it was Auburn. Anyway, so going against the Heisman Trophy winner has been very good. Has been very good. And then at the end of the show, we'll have a trend that's 42-21, which is also a bowl game, and I'll tell you about that one. So
that's right. Florida State was a big favorite with James
10
Winston.
and a half, I believe, and we're lucky to win the game. If I
right.
remember, it's 34-31, and it was right near the end when they finally pulled it out. So.
All right, we got some 4 bowl games on the schedule to talk about, including the big 2. We're going to start off with this UCLA-Nebraska game, December 26th. This is the Foster Farms Bowl in Santa Clara, California. That's AT&T Park. It's actually a meeting between these teams for the 3rd time in the last 4 years, if you can believe that. UCLA won both the games 36-30. That was at home in week 2 3 years ago, and then they met 2 years ago at Nebraska, and it was a 41-21 UCLA win. In fact, the one 3 years ago, Nebraska was actually favored on the road at UCLA in week 2, and once again, the Bruins. So the Bruins have had the number on this team. Here we have UCLA getting a lot of respect from the odds makers, 7-point favorite, total of 60.5 for this team, this UCLA team. 8-4 on the season, have not been covering numbers, 5-7 against the spread. They don't come into the bowl on a hot run here. 1-2 straight up in ATS the last 3 games. Of course, the big one was the season finale against USC. Boy, were they terrible, getting blown out 40-21. It's a team that relies a lot on running back Paul Perkins, a terrific back. And then you got the quarterback in Josh Rosen, who has been, overall, he's been pretty good, but he's had some rough moments, which you can expect with a freshman quarterback. 20 touchdowns, 9 picks for the year, but certainly an up-and-down season. So, Sean, when you take a closer look at this UCLA game, they're not too far from home. On the other hand, Nebraska fans, they certainly do follow this team and travel. So how do you assess this one?
Well, first of all, let me just say a couple of things. All of these games pretty much are on neutral sites. I think one team has a home game. but most of these bowl games are on neutral sites. And I've never liked this corporate names of these bowls. First of all, they're going to get enough advertisement for the game. That's what they paid for. And I'm tired. I want it to be just the Sun Bowl and the Rose Bowl, but these guys are just so greedy. That's a personal opinion. I don't like it.
It used to be that way, but now it's the
Years
money.
ago it was,
Yeah.
but now these corporate sponsors
They
are
want the
just
dough.
drowning us like this Foster Farms Bowl, right, all that garbage. Anyway, it's over at Levi Stadium, I think, this particular game. It'll be on the 26th of December. The one thing you want to do, since there's such a look layover, is you want to check the weather sites, especially, in rainy areas where, like the Cotton Bowl, Orange Bowl, that kind of stuff. You want to check weather sites before you do anything. Anyway, this game, it's up in Santa Clara. It is on the 26th of December. It's a Saturday. It's a late game. It goes at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you're right, 8-4 straight up UCLA. Let's look at them. They're a money-burning 5-7 against the number, but 8 of their games went under the total. We've talked about this quarterback, Josh Chosen Rosen, several times. He does have very good numbers: 20 touchdown passes, 9 interceptions, 3,349 yards. Great talent. But he's mistake prone, and we've talked about that before. I think he really hurt him in that Southern Cal game, that fumble where they scored a touchdown, USC did. I think that broke their back. It's just the way, but there's no question about his abilities. Here's the thing that not a lot of people are talking about UCLA. They got running back Paul Perkins. All right, everybody knows about him. 1,275 rushing yards, have 5.7 yards a carry, which is very good. But they also had 3 other running backs who don't get the ball much, but they have incredible numbers. Here's a guy, running back. I'm not going to try and pronounce some of these names. I'm going to rely on Jeff for this. Jamabu, I think is his name. This guy rushes for 6.1 yards per carry when he gets his hands on the ball. How about running back Nate Starts? He rushes for 6.5 yards a carry. And here's a guy, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name, Olorunfumni. If anybody knows how to pronounce, who knows, right? But anyway, this guy, he runs for 5.5 yards. Together, these guys have maybe 80 carries. But they can move the ball. Hopefully this coach starts to use these guys. Okay, UCLA defense allows 25 points a game, which isn't the greatest in the world, but they're very good defending the pass. Coming off a very bad, and we talked about, and disappointing loss to Southern Cal as a road dog of only 3.5, 41-20, fell apart in the second half. That defensive touchdown that USC scored when Rosen fumbled that ball, you can't do that and just give that defense 7 points. And UCLA only scored 7 points in the second half. Let's look at Nebraska. First of all, they shouldn't even be here. 5-7 straight up and against the number, another money burner. Junior quarterback Tommy Armstrong, decent player, 21 touchdown passes, 16 interceptions, 2,856 passing yards. They don't have a great rushing attack. Running back Terrell Newby, is that his name? He's got a total of 743 yards on the season. Nebraska defense, how about in 4 games? Allowed 33, 36, 55, and 38 points in 4 contests, but they did come back in the fourth quarter and beat me. And they handed Michigan State their only loss late, 39-38. Nebraska, they're a historic team. They're like Alabama, the University of Texas, Notre Dame, these historic programs, but not lately. Not ever since they made that conference change. And UCLA, which, how I am about taking inexperienced quarterbacks. And again, losing out. Jeff was talking about, do these teams really want to be here? Well, I got to believe UCLA's deal was to try and win the Pac-South. They had a chance to do it, and they didn't do it. But the fact is, the talent level and these running backs plus defensive numbers against the pass tell me that UCLA is the side, even though it's a freshman quarterback. I'm going to go against my usual thing here. He's got a lot of talent, but they have just a lot of ways to score here, and Nebraska doesn't. So to me, and it's a big play, UCLA minus the 6.5, and that number might even come down. I'd be surprised if it got to 7. So for me, Jeff, UCLA be the side in this game.
Did you say that Nebraska shouldn't be here? I mean, do you know how many people in the Huskers say you just offended?
Well, 5-7 straight up. I mean, my God.
Well, that's the catch with them. Yeah, in fact, that's which way the money is going. UCLA opened about 6.5, now up to 7. We're looking at 69% of the early wagers being made, and it's on the home team, the favorite here, the Bruins. Yeah, Nebraska 5-7 record, making a bowl first year under Mike Riley. The quarterback, actually the defense has been terrible the last few games, allowing 33, 36, 55, and 38 points in those contests. They really struggled on defense. Strengths of the offense with quarterback Tommy Armstrong, 21 touchdowns and 16 interceptions, a pro-style attack. Nebraska fans would say, hey, we beat Michigan State. might end up winning the national title here. That was the high watermark of the season, 39-38, if they can play a good one for this one. So, Jeff, when you look at this game, you got a couple of teams that know how to score. So do you look at the side or the total in this bowl game?
Yeah, as I said before, motivation is a major factor in bowl games. I'm not sure if UCLA has it for this one. They won the last two bowl games with Jim Mora. They won 40-35 against Kansas State last year, 42-12 against Virginia Tech the year before that. But those two games are coming out the big wins over USC. That everybody's happy about the program. Everything's looking good. This year they come off a very disappointing season. They had some devastating injuries. When Miles Jack went down, it was really a killer. And then they lost to USC this year. And right now, I'm not sure what their mindset is. I'm not sure if it's that good. Nebraska has 7 losses by a total of just 31 points. They lost 4 games in the final play of the game. The biggest margin of defeat was that Iowa game, just 8 points. Rosen, of course, overall, he had a great season. At one point, he went 245 passes in a row without an interception, but then his inexperience got to him in the final game against the Trojans. Nebraska quarterback Tommy Armstrong Jr. has 9 interceptions in his last 3 games, which is kind of worrisome. But overall, he had a pretty good season. But I'm just not sure about UCLA's motivation point at this point. And Nebraska, I think they're for 5-17 to be in a bowl game. I think they're feeling pretty lucky right now, and
lucky.
And they probably want to go out there and put on a good show and try to prove that they belong there because they lost so many close games. So I'll go with the points with Nebraska, John.
All right, the total for this game is 60.5, and I can see Mike Riley going with a ball control type of offense to keep it out of the hands of the UCLA offense. He certainly has the talent to do it with the running backs and the experienced quarterbacks. Nebraska 9-3 under the total when they play at neutral sites. Then you got this UCLA defense. Ken Clark, defensive tackle, he is a terrific talent on this team. UCLA is on an 8-3-1 run under the total, where UCLA faces a team with a losing record, 21-10 under the total. And after a loss, they're coming off that bad performance against USC. After a loss, USC is 35-15-1 under the total, and it's a very high total for a bowl game. So I will take a look at UCLA and Nebraska under the total.